Welcome, Evan, to Season 3, Episode 32 of TUP. TUP.
Episode 32 of Season 3?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, sick. I'm so glad I recorded all those extra episodes.
Yeah. You know, we've been doing this for the grand scheme of it. We've been doing it for a while. Just recently, we haven't been doing it that long, but I don't think you understand this, but the episodes are going to consecutively keep going, okay? That's not going to stop. We're not going to do another one. We're just keep going it, okay? The great English, you know?
Yes.
So, do you have any idea what we're going to be doing today?
Yes, we've talked about it multiple times, yes.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that you know, but do the people listening know? No,
they have no clue. That's the whole point of this, us talking about it again.
That's why I was asking you. I wasn't asking you to actually ask you if you understand. I know you know, but I asked you so you could talk about it so that other people could know.
This is why we can't film.
I don't have time for you. That's
twice in one night.
I'm getting slightly aggravated here. What the fuck was that? I heard that. Okay.
Here, you hear this?
Yeah. Ow. All right. Okay. Fuck. That was loud. Dude, my hands are so cold. Okay. Well, would you like to explain what's going on here?
Yeah, we're hunting for Bigfoot tonight.
We're hunting for Bigfoot. No. Well,
yeah.
A little
Bigfoot's real, and we're gonna prove it.
Okay, so thank you for explaining that horribly, Evan. But so in a previous episode, I forgot what the fuck we were doing. I think we were doing a top 10 list, and something popped up about Bigfoot, and I mentioned that there was a podcast called Other People's Lives, and they did an episode where they interviewed this guy who chases Bigfoot and he does Bigfoot stuff. And currently, right now, before I listened to this episode, I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I don't really believe in Bigfoot.
What a fool. Your whole world's about to change.
Evan, I want to be a little bit sincere and honest with you. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Be fucking straight up with me.
Absolutely.
I fucking hate you. Are you
what?
Being
Do you
serious?
not believe me?
No, I don't believe you.
Look at these big ass fucking feet.
That doesn't mean shit. All right, I'm gonna.
Yes,
answer.
I believe 100%. No joke. I believe in Bigfoot.
Wow.
No joke. Yep. Straight face.
Wow.
I'm definitely not joking. I believe in Bigfoot. Anything that can prove Bigfoot's existence is I don't know why you don't believe in Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, so today we're going to be listening to an episode of Other People's Lives. And this is a great show. Each week, hosts Joe Santagato and Greg Dybeck have an anonymous phone call with a stranger they found on the internet. You never know what topics will be discussed and what stories will be shared. That's their quick little summary of what their show's about. And every episode it's a little different. I want to read off just a couple of their titles for their episodes. One of them is titled, I Have Two Vaginas. Another is, I Survived a School Shooting. Another is, I drink and play with blood during sex. Another one is, I served 44 years for a crime I didn't commit. Another one is, I only date fictional characters. So they interview, like, completely different people every episode. And it's pretty interesting. In one episode, they interviewed someone who like professionally chases Bigfoot. So
yeah, seems like a legitimate job.
So this episode, I just want to I want to listen to this with you, and tell me to pause it at any time if you want to like discuss anything. All right.
Okay.
So I guess we'll just get started.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybeck.
And if you are just listening to the show, you can now watch it on YouTube. It is available there at youtube.com/otherpeopleslives.
Yes, and today we are speaking with Scott, is it Violet? How do you say the last name?
Villette.
Scott Villette of Blue Mountain Bigfoot Research. To kick things off, can you just explain to us what your organization does exactly?
Actually, we are a scientific organization that is out to classify and register the American primate that's walking in the woods today. Yep.
So American primate, meaning, I guess, what most people would refer to as Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Yes.
There's multiple, obviously.
Cool. So
how
long have you been doing this? And I guess what made you, essentially dedicate your life to tracking this?
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Well, I actually, what got me into this was I have a degree in anthropology, and my expertise is in Native American culture. And what got me into it was I've worked with Native American tribes from all over the United States, but particularly I spent a few years with the Miwok tribe in Central California, and they're in the Yosemite Valley area. And I started looking at pictographs and petroglyphs that they had in their area, and there was one that I didn't recognize because I learned how to read them in college, but I was looking at this one and I go, what is this? And they said, well, that's Yayali in their language. And I said, what's that in our language? And they go, well, it's, Bigfoot, hairy man. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's real. And they said, yes, absolutely. That's real. And the pictograph I was looking at was like 500 years old. And we started finding other ones that were like 1,500 years old that were pictographs of Bigfoot. And I started researching with other tribes, and I walked over 175 different native tribes that have Bigfoot legends. And I said, well, they got to be something to this. So I started looking into the Bigfoot thing about 25 years ago and started finding stories from other people. And when I launched my website, and I got a Facebook page, and I got logos all over my truck, and people started sharing stories with me, I started correlating the Native American stories with the modern day stories, and they were matching up. So I thought, well, there's got to be something to this. This legend's got to be real. So 2 years ago, I actually saw one in the woods for the first time.
Yes. So you saw a Bigfoot.
Yeah. After 25 years of looking, so they're pretty elusive. But yeah, I saw one 2 years ago.
Where were you, and like what did it look like? Because I know, I am not that familiar with Bigfoot, but I know that the legend is that it's tall, like 7-8 feet tall or something like that, and walks like a human but looks like a primate. So can you just like describe this entire encounter and where it was?
Okay, yeah, we were in the Blue Mountains in Eastern Oregon, in the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest. What led me to it was I received several, like 15 reports from people all within a 2-week period, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's probably where they're at right now. So we trucked up in the woods and spent every day there for 3 or 4 days. And then I was hiking along a trail, and we smelt this really bad smell, which I've heard described to me, but I've never smelt it before. But a lot of people who have Bigfoot encounters describe how bad they smell. So
okay.
I had my partner that was with me. I said, okay, let's just keep walking on this muddy trail and maybe it'll follow us and we can get footprint tracks, because it was dense forest. There was no way just, to find it. But so we hiked a little ways, and the smell went away. So we turned around, went back, and when we got back to when the smell was really bad again, I heard this kind of a grunt roar sound in the woods, and give us a general direction, but I still didn't see it. So I growled at it again. I growled back at it, and it growled at me again. And that's when I located it. It was about 200 feet away, and I saw its head and shoulders through an opening in the trees, and it was bobbing its head back and forth a little bit, kind of looking at me from side to side, kind of like a primate does, like some animals do, when they're actually trying to range you by doing that. So I started snapping pictures.
I'm going to pause it real quick. So, like, I don't really believe in Bigfoot, but, like, this guy says that he's seen one.
Well, it's because they're real. This
Okay.
is just extra proof. Like, it's proof. Right?
I don't
But, like,
I don't
this
know
is
if you're
extra
being
proof.
dead serious. I don't know if you actually believe that these are real.
Look at my goddamn face, Christian. Bigfoot is real.
So, like, I still have my suspicions. I don't, like, until I see one of these things, I'll believe it. But later on in this episode, he goes on to talk about, like, more evidence, and it just gets, like, it convinces me even more. But I'm still a little,
Dude. Okay.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Pictures of it, and then we heard a whistle off in the woods to our right, and it turned and walked away. Then we spent like 3 days there measuring everything, trying to figure out how far away it was, where it was standing. And where it was standing, we found 3 9-inch footprints with 3 15-inch footprints next to them. So the one we saw was 6 foot tall after measuring everything. The one that whistled at this one off in the woods is probably mom or dad, and that was the 15-inch footprints telling the juvenile to walk away. So what it looked like to me was surprisingly more human than I thought. It had a really familiar human-looking face. It was less primate ape. It was more primate hominid like us, looking at me. So that got me to thinking about what the species might be.
What did you feel in that moment? You said that you've essentially been tracking Bigfoot for 25 years, and then you have that experience.
Oh, I was elated. I mean, I just kind of sat there in shock for about an hour after it walked away before we did anything else. We were like, oh my gosh, did we just see what we just saw? Trying to convince myself it was real, But yeah, I was shocked. I mean, like, after being in pursuit of this thing for 25 years, and and I've had what you would say close encounters with them. I've had rocks thrown at me before. I've had trees pulled out of the ground and laid next to my tent in the middle of the night.
Like, that's
we
fucking
found
crazy.
Footprints and stuff like this. It was the first time I ever saw one eye to eye, and
They rip out
I was
trees.
elated. I was like, oh my gosh, they are real. I wasn't just
What did you just send me?
thinking of this in my head.
Ugh.
What did the footprints look like?
Why would you send me that?
They're
That's Bigfoot.
surprisingly different than humans. And I've been studying the footprint casts for a long time, and I've got to spend some time with some of the more prominent experts in the field today. Like Dr. Jeff Meldrum from Idaho State University, and he explained a lot of stuff to me about the footprints. And being an anthropologist and knowing how the bone structure of a human works, if you look at the footprint casts, they are similar to humans, but there are some distinct differences in them. First of all, they're 4, 5, 6 inches wide, depending on how long they are. They have a really broad,
That's
wide
thick.
bill, and
Yes.
And
yes, Evan.
on average, they're 14, 15 to 16 inches long. They have
That's some
seen
big
some
feet,
that are up to
Christian.
20.
Well, that's where they get their names.
So
Wow.
that would put that creature over 10 foot tall. But
Jesus.
That's
I mean,
enormous.
Shaq's. Okay, how
Like,
could
this is-
so
but, like,
pause
I'm
it?
c-
Pause it. They said 20 inches long, right? That'd put him at 10 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
Shaq's feet are longer than that, and he's not fucking 10 feet tall. So what? Like, this guy says he's an expert, but like, I don't know about all that. I think I might be more of a Bigfoot expert than him because I've seen Bigfoot. He's seen it once. I've seen Bigfoot twice.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Also, Bigfoots don't rip out trees. That's a myth.
Like when he was talking about the thing ripped out a tree and placed it next to his tent, like
It's false.
then
That's not
how
Bigfoot.
else would a fucking tree just like get picked up and put there?
Christian, you don't want to know about the other monsters that exist, but it's not Bigfoot, okay? I'll promise you that much.
So you don't believe in Bigfoot?
No, I do believe in Bigfoot. I'm telling you, this guy he spent 25 years. I've spent less than that, and I'll tell you what.
Have
he
you
knows-
seen one?
I said twice. Yes. 2 times.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic. It's hard for me to believe what
Christian, 7 to 8 foot monkey man in forests with big feet. It ain't that hard to believe, okay?
you're saying. Okay.
Like,
If something's 10 feet tall, how?
pause. Say, theoretically, right, that Bigfoots did not exist. How hard would it be to believe that a abnormally large monkey lives in a forest?
I mean, there are big monkeys. They're called gorillas.
But not a gorilla. A large monkey.
Just a mutated monkey that fucking came out. Fucking
Just some American ape, like something that like is not very common. Like, there's so many species that haven't been found. Christian, how hard is it to believe that
He goes
some
to
small
talk about
population is hiding in the forest somewhere? Like,
what you're talking about, he talks about,
yeah, it's because they're
and
real.
that goes to make me believe a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, well,
but Bigfoot's
You know, if
real.
they're so elusive, how over the years, you know, because I mean, I'm 28 years old, but even when I was younger, I even knew about Bigfoot and like all these things, and throughout all this time, like we can't find, you know, pictures of them or
that's another
know,
good point.
or anything. Like, it's how are they that elusive if like it's just all this time, you know, and you were able to see them? Like, how can we not have, you know, gotten these like clear pictures or video of these things and confirmation? Like, why do you think they're
good
so
camera
elusive? Do you
technology
know?
only came around in like the
I
past
do.
like
And
10 years.
I have a theory on that. And what it is, it's kind of, there's kind of 2 or 3 factors in this. There is, first of all, the factor of numbers. So in Malawi-Whitman National Forest, where I live, I went to the Forest Service and I asked them how many animals are in the woods. Well, they told me that in the about 15,000 square miles that this forest is, which is a huge area, you know, they have about 10,000 deer. So I see deer all the time. They have about 8,000 elk. I see elk quite often. They said they have, you know, about 1,000 to 1,200 bears. I see a bear about every other year. And then they say they had 800 cougars. Well, I have never seen a cougar in the woods. I'm sure cougars probably saw me, but I've never saw one in the woods. But if there's only 100 of these Bigfoot in 15,000 square miles, what's the chance of me ever running across one? And if they're in this as intelligent as I think they are, if they're like humanoid intelligent, I mean, not tool making intelligent, but just, you know, tribal human, you know, intelligent, they've learned over the years how to avoid humans because we're the biggest predators in the woods. And another thing about that is we do have pictures of them all the time. But nobody believes you. I
See?
find footprints about once a year.
Yeah.
You know, I've got.
So Joe brought up a good point. If they've been around for that long, how come we don't have good pictures? And
Okay.
I'm on his side on that point. Like, if they've been here for that long, how come there aren't good pictures? But then he goes and says that. And then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because if in that amount of forest, there's only like 100 of them. And if they're as smart as he says they are, not tool making smart, but if they're smart enough to avoid people, then that makes sense that they would avoid humans, and that's like the good explanation for why there's not good pictures of them. Cause
Okay. Also, like, so like the smartphone came around in like, let's just estimate 2010, right? Obviously, I think it came out before that, but anyways, before then, people really didn't have like cameras in their pockets, right? Like, you could bring a camera out into the woods and stuff, but like, say you saw a Bigfoot, how long is it you're gonna have to first of all pull out your camera and then like turn it on, so like maybe a couple seconds of boot up time, and then like try and get some photo as it runs away. Like,
he later goes on to talk about that one good picture of Bigfoot, which has been the best picture of Bigfoot, and that was taken on a film camera. So
yeah, but like, that's just like so the whole thing of like, oh, we don't have pictures, it's like, first of all, people don't believe in Bigfoot, which is just ridiculous. But if they did, and everyone went out on like a search party, like, I'm hunting down Bigfoot,
mm-hmm.
and had cameras out, they'd be found.
I think we should do that. I would fund it. Make a GoFundMe, and I'll
go fund me for buying Bigfoot. We're gonna get aerial drones, okay? Fucking thermal imaging, okay?
I mean, I want to see one.
Yeah, we're gonna get one. We're gonna capture it, put it in a zoo.
Yeah, no.
I've got my pictures that I put up, 2 years ago, and like the Roger Patterson film in 1967, that was before any digital anything, and that one is very convincing. So we do have these, but people just, and like I said, I get 120 reports a year just in my area of people who do see them, whether they're hunters or guys out fishing, people out picking mushrooms or berries in the fall, So we do get a lot of reports. The problem is nobody believes them. It doesn't get picked up by the headline news, and just us researchers get these stories all the time, and people do see them all the time.
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if Nat Geo were to send out, like, here's our best photographers, we're dedicating a year or two, to this search. Like, do you think there would be that type of high quality footage that would come out? It's just that people aren't putting in the effort to get that.
Right, and like that's well, you're correct. I mean, if Nat Geo, they would have to put up a lot of money to do that. Because, like I said, it took me 25 years to track one down.
That's what I said, Christian.
25 years, So that would cost them a lot of money and a lot of time, and a lot of these big corporations just don't do that. They'd rather spend their money on taking pictures of tigers in Africa, or not lions in Africa.
Okay. What about
tigers?
I don't know how this works with other animals, but things like finding a dead body or finding the bones of animal. I don't know if that's something common or if that's something that's ever been.
I think this is another great
Bigfoot.
point.
It hasn't been discovered with Bigfoot, and there's another probability of why that hasn't happened.
It's easy. They obviously bury their dead.
I didn't think about that.
If they're smart enough to avoid humans, maybe they bury their dead. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe
in
not.
the woods, especially up in the Pacific Northwest.
It could.
It is. I mean, the ground has a lot of acid in it, and it's wet all the time. It's not very conducive to preserving bones. That's why you find dinosaurs in deserts, but you don't find them in forests. And another thing with this is a lot of people don't know porcupines. Their main diet is bones. They eat bones. That's what they eat because they have to build the calcium for those little spikes that they wear on the back of on their backs. But what's interesting is there was an anthropologist in Washington State University. He's passed away now, but his name was Grover Krantz, and he put up $25,000 for anybody who could bring him the carcass or the bones of a bear that died naturally in the woods.
Of just a bear.
Just a bear, and nobody's ever been able to do it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So where do they like? So what is the answer to that? If like the bears aren't dying from natural causes, when they do die, what happens to their remains?
It's just like everything else in the woods. I mean, you got the predation, from, even other bears eating them, coyotes, wolves. Up here in the Northwest, we have wolves, and then cougars and all the meat eaters. They take care of the big portion of it. Then bugs take care of the rest, and then the porcupines eat the bones. So I have found piles of elk fur, but that's the only thing is left is the elk fur. There's nothing left. There's no bones. There's nothing. So we find that quite often, actually.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess from your experience, the research, what is your theory in terms of you? I think you said before the northern ape or northern primate. What to you is it? How many of these do you think there are? Are these like primates that travel in packs? Is this a hybrid between a man and an animal? I guess what's your kind of breakdown of what Bigfoot is?
Okay.
As a tribe.
Okay. Here's my theory, and there's a few other people who have the same theory I do. First of all, I think there's about probably 2,500 of them between up in the Pacific Northwest, between Northern California up in Washington. But these things are all over the world. I mean, we find them in Nepal and even in Australia and Vietnam, and there's China. There's Russia. These places, these things are all over the world. What I think they are is the difference between a primate ape like a gorilla and a primate hominid species like us is that we walk upright and we have small canine teeth. Apes they walk on all fours and they have very large canine teeth. The one I saw in the pictures I've saw and descriptions over hundreds and hundreds of descriptions I've got, everybody says that these things have small canine teeth, they look very human, and they walk upright. So technically and scientifically, these things are human. They at any given time in the history of humans, we've had 4 to 5 species of humans living on the planet at the same time. That whole evolutionary curve, that T-shirt you see with the monkey that turns into the guy,
Yeah.
That's not how it worked. That's bunk. The way it worked was there's a common ancestor somewhere, like up at the top of the waterfall. But as the water comes down over the waterfall, the water spreads out. And as you go in, as different species of humans went to different areas on the planet, they adapted differently to survive in that area. So that's why we have different, looking humans. You've got black people, white people, red people, yellow people, you know. So they developed in different regions for different, you know, um, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? They had different things they had to adapt to survive, and their bodies changed to do that over, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So what happened with the human species as they spread out? We've had like Homo heidelbergensis, Homo nadali, Homo floresiensis, Homo neanderthal, and Homo sapien, us, all lived together at the same time. And we know what happened to Homo neanderthal because they were in France and Europe area. When our species Homo sapien got there, we bred them out. 4% of all Europeans, or I meant all Europeans, pretty much have 3 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA in them. So why is today any different? I don't think it is. I think there's another species of humans still living on this planet. They just avoid us like a plague. And so that's what I think they are. I don't think they're an ape. I think they're another split off the human genome somewhere who has survived over, you know, all the extinctions, just like we have.
It makes me think of even like indigenous tribes of like the Amazon that haven't even been discovered yet, you know, but have kind of their own civilization out there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like, before listening to this, I would think of Bigfoot as like this mysterious like monster, but listening to this, it makes me think of Bigfoot as an actual like real animal instead of like a fictitious creature. And like I wouldn't ever think of Bigfoot like that, because a lot of people in the media and shit, they talk about Bigfoot as being like this made up thing, but like this guy is like talking about this thing seriously and scientifically, and he just brings up a lot of shit that like makes me agree with him that Bigfoot is real. Fuck you.
Glad you're seeing the light, Christian.
Thank you.
So I think Bigfoot falls in that category.
Do we know what they eat, or like, you know, I assume that there should be some sort of evidence of like animals with bite marks or scratch marks or something, or, you know, I don't know. Is there anything? Do you know anything about what they eat, what their diet is like?
Oh, absolutely. There's a couple things about them and what they eat, and I have experienced this personally. Actually, we have a lot of reports of them chasing down deer. When you're 10 foot tall and you have a 6 foot stride length, it doesn't take many steps for you to go a long ways. So they're pretty fast creatures. They really are.
This is a funny part coming up. I remember
they do eat meat. They do eat animals. We have found deer in trees with no bite marks, no scratches, no bullet holes, no nothing. These things are laying across branches sideways in trees 8 foot up with their necks broke. Like something grabbed it and broke its neck.
I'd like to see that.
That is found surprisingly a lot. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 cases of that found a year around the nation, of deer being stored in trees like a meat locker. And then another thing is, if the Patterson film, which is probably the best video of a Bigfoot we have ever got, if you take the measurements of this creature, it has a very long torso. I mean, because they're tall, but they're longer than us. Their torso's longer than ours on average. The average human, your torso fits within this measurement. And so their average is longer than ours. So that means they have more intestines than we do. They have a longer digestive tract than than we do. So they can eat stuff like lichen out of trees. They can eat vegetation that we can't get nutrients out, but they can because they have a longer digestive tract. So I'm figuring they're like us. They're omnivores. They eat and vegetation, and their bodies just process rougher food than ours, so it's easier for them to survive.
And you're talking about, you mentioned Roger Patterson. I just looked that up. So that, it looks like it was 1967. It was, what was that kind of footage, like some of the most clear footage, I guess, that was released to date?
It is. It's the clearest footage we've got to date. And the neat thing about that, it was taken on an old time film camera that had to be developed. So there's nothing digital about that at all, taken in 1967.
Okay, I've seen these photos. I'm looking it up now. It's extremely clear. It's basically a giant ape human man walking upright, kind of turning and looking at the camera.
Yeah, that's it. And there's something interesting about that whole thing. Is one, if you watch how it walks, it does not walk like a human. It has what is known as a compliant gait, because if you notice, it kind of walks hunched over. It never locks its knees. Humans, when we walk, we lock our knees. We
I've
hit our
seen this
heel on the
video
ground.
before.
We lock our knees. We vault over our hips. That's why we bounce when we walk. That creature doesn't bounce at all. And there's a couple reasons for it. One, the way it walks, hunched over and not locking its knees. Two, we've discovered that their foot flexes in the middle, so their foot bends in the middle, and they have what they call a mid-tarsal break, and that is because they have no arch in their foot. If we didn't have an arch in our foot would bend in the middle too. So if you watch that film, as they walk, as soon as the toe comes off the ground, the foot is vertical to the ground. People don't walk kicking their heel on the bottom of their foot straight up and down every time they take a step. So, and then if you were to measure the length of the legs, the length, from the hip to the knee, and from the knee to the ankle, and the length of the arms compared to the shoulder width and stuff like that, we get back into those averages. It doesn't match any human averages. In fact, the length of the torso of that and the length of the legs compared to the arms, you can't put a human in that suit.
I also
There's
think
no
this
way,
is a
because
good
there's
point.
some things, if you put a man in a suit, you can't change the length of his, the bone of his hip to his knee. You can't lengthen that or shorten it, according to the averages. So that's what's
agree
really
with that,
convincing
yeah.
about that film is, one, it was taken before you could digitally alter anything, and two, that creature's 7'6" tall, because that's something Nat Geographic did do. They took that film and diagnosed it. They went to that area and took laser scanners and scanned the whole terrain, exactly where that was taken, and they took the focal length and from the camera and did all the math, and they figured that they could measure everything that was taken in that film, and that creature was 7'6" hunched over. If it stood up straight, it was probably a little taller. But they broke that down and said, yeah, there's no way you could put a human in that suit. If it was, there's no way it fit.
And for anyone listening, if you want to check this out now, it's Patterson Gimlin, Gimlin film. But quick search, it'll definitely come up.
Yep.
Do you have a theory as to why a company like Nat Geo won't go out of their way to find this footage? Because I assume that this would be one of the biggest stories. Like, if it were to come out that there was definitive footage that they caught on these 4K cameras that we have nowadays, and very clear. Like, is there a theory as to why they won't do that? To me, it just seems like it would be to their benefit to find this.
Well, actually, they have.
By the way, there's 20 minutes left of this episode.
There's shows that
I just
come out all
watched
the
that
time,
old
and
film,
documentaries. There's probably 2 or 3.
Do you want to keep listening to this, or?
I'm okay. If you want to keep listening to it, I'm down. But
Okay. What did you think of that video?
it's kind of blurry, but it ain't bad.
Okay.
come out. about the search for Bigfoot. But the problem is they take those 4K cameras and they take all their equipment and they go into the woods for a weekend, or they go into the woods for a week or a month at the most. And without any, research or stories like I got, like I said, it took me 25 years to find one. And then the only reason I did that is because I had a whole lot of people give me information all within a few days. That was where I was able to narrow down where this creature was going to be. And if these things are migratory in any way, going into the woods for a weekend or a week or 2 weeks to shoot, because shooting documentaries is very expensive. So, it'll cost them, $100,000 or $200,000 a week to put those crews in the woods, and they're not going to spend any more than that. So it's going to be highly unlikely that they ever find anything.
When you
why doesn't he just go out
meet
with
people
the
and
camera?
tell them what you do for a
He did.
Yeah, why didn't he get a picture?
He said he's been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah, but why doesn't he have? So the one time he saw it, the one time he went out to search for it, he didn't bring a camera with him
I guess he didn't get a picture.
or video. I mean, if I was a Bigfoot hunter,
You'd be filming fucking every day.
I would. If I was searching for Bigfoot actively, I would not even like. I'd have a GoPro running off of those big ass batteries you stick on the back of Raitt cameras. Like, I'd have a backpack full of batteries, just have it constantly rolling.
Yeah.
Because why would you not?
I don't know why he hasn't gotten any footage of it. But, I mean, he keeps talking. He talked about how difficult it is to even get a glimpse of one of these, or to find, like, bones and shit of these. So, but I don't know why he doesn't have any of his own evidence.
You'd think if it's so difficult, you would spend all this. You would at least invest in a small camera that can record, so that when you do go out looking for him. But whatever.
living. What's the reaction that you normally get?
I do get the scoffs and the laughs and the chuckles a lot, but there is a large community of people out here who, and I hate using the word believe, because I'd rather leave belief up to religion. To me, I'm more of a scientist, because I'm an anthropologist. That's what I do, is science. So there are the chucklers and stuff like that, but I think after I sit down and explain to them the science behind what we have discovered over the last 100 years, from other people been doing this for a long time, and taking all those little points of data and putting them together, it's fairly convincing to a lot of people. They're like, oh, that makes sense, but you still get the people who are like, oh yeah, you're an idiot, but I just chuckle and go on and let the trolls alone, basically.
No, but I think it's the reason we want to speak with you, because people are going to believe or they're not going to believe. But it seems like for you, it's not just this like romanticized belief or something that you want to believe, but from, I guess, a scientific approach, you just feel that there's a lot more evidence leaning towards the existence, plus your own experiences.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell people that a lot. It's not that I believe; it's that I have studied the evidence and found it credible. So for me, it's more of a scientific experiment, and than it ever was. Just I'm going to go find some mystery thing. It's like I've got all this evidence that's right in my face saying this thing is here. This is real. This has got to be, because. Case in point, here's something that a lot of people don't know about is, dates are, I think it's 1990s sometime, but don't quote me on that. There was a set of footprints found up in Bosburg, Washington, which is kind of the center of the state up by the Canadian border. there was these footprints found, and one of the 2 feet, they were 15-inch tracks found in snow. One of the feet was deformed, and if you were to take that foot and draw
I
the
have
bone
15-inch
structure in
feet.
it makes sense. The deformity makes sense.
Size 15.
Because if
Christian.
you took the drawing,
That's not 15 inches.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's based off of inches, Christian. Get a ruler, measure your foot. What size shoe do you wear?
Fuck.
You wear like a size 13, right?
I wear 14s, but my foot's at 13. Let me get a thing. Okay, I've got a measuring tape right here. Oh fuck.
Now keep your foot like flat, you know?
Okay. I don't know if
Don't curve your toes up or anything like that.
Okay. I won't be able to get this in the camera. But from the back of my heel to my big toe, it's almost 11 inches.
Okay.
So,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm
Measure
wrong.
your foot, motherfucker.
I just thought that's how it works, Christian. I'm just saying.
No, dude. If my foot was a 14, my foot would be this big.
In the camera, it doesn't seem that big.
Dude, look at my head. You see my head?
Okay.
This is now 15 inches, dude, compared to my arm. Yeah, your foot is not 15 fucking inches.
I don't know about that, Christian.
No. Dude. How can I...
I mean, you can't prove that my foot's not 15 inches, so...
I mean, I can't prove it to the people watching, but I know your foot is not this big. I have seen your feet not this big. No.
You haven't seen my feet in a long time. I mean, it could be possible.
They have not fucking grown to 15 inches, dude.
I would say it's probably closer to 20. In the camera, it looks small.
All right.
those bones and showed it to a podiatrist, and they look at it, they say, that's clubfoot. That's a natural human problem. So if this footprint was faked, it was faked by a podiatrist. And if it was faked 1,087 times, because we found 1,087 of these footprints. And the foot was flexible. So, you know, as it stepped on different substrates, it made different shapes, you know, but it was the same foot. So we found a Bigfoot that had a human problem. So, you know, if somebody's going to fake that, they had to be very intelligent and had, like I said, they had to be a podiatrist or a doctor. And in 1990, I don't think they had the technology to make that happen.
I don't think anybody would care.
That's interesting. I never heard that.
Here,
Because I know that there have been.
Stop it. Listen. Okay. Just gonna be honest with you.
Yes.
Like,
That's all I'm looking for is honesty.
Like, how hard is it to believe that there is, like, an animal out in the woods, not even Bigfoot, that's just, like, kind of rare, and, like, humans don't see it that often?
It's like...
Like, it's not that hard to believe.
After listening to this, I don't think it's that hard to believe anymore. But before...
It's, like, the same thing with aliens, right? Like...
That's
different. So, like, even if, like...
By the way, I do believe in aliens.
Like, so, like, obviously, I don't know if humans have, I'm not going to say humans have, like, ever encountered aliens, or I believe that we've encountered aliens, but to not believe that something else exists anywhere in the entire universe, like the probability of something that nothing else exists in the whole universe is outstanding. Like, it's damn near impossible.
Just the fact that us humans are on a planet in the universe, that's enough like evidence to believe that there's other living things also in the universe somewhere else. If the universe is this fucking big, there's got to be something else.
I mean, like, honestly, like, new species are just like still being discovered on Earth. So like the probability, like, I just don't see how it could not be.
But like Bigfoot, there's a lot of like, there's just a lot of shit about Bigfoot that like people say that is not real. Like, and Bigfoot's in movies and shit and commercials and
Yeah, I mean, it's like
people have their own like idea of what Bigfoot is, and it's like this like fucking mystical, mysterious thing that.
And maybe, like, I'm not saying that like this mysterious, like, godlike figure exists. I'm just saying there's probably a species out there that somewhat resembles what humans think of Bigfoot, right? Like, large monkey man, right? Out in the woods. Like, there probably is a, like, just probability wise, it probably exists.
Yeah, I agree. Now I agree. But I wasn't always a believer.
Because it's not like we have like eyes on everything all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, we're not going to scan thousands of miles of forest for some species.
But there
I
are.
feel like it'd be easier to prove that he does exist than he doesn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm. I just think that like, if they have been around for this long, and if there's a lot of people like this guy who actually like spend their time and go out looking for these creatures, it's about time that like fucking like there should be some good evidence.
Maybe that's coming. You never know.
Like,
maybe.
Hopefully. Like,
go do it. If it bothers you so much, go do it.
It doesn't bother me that much.
You need to start doing it.
No, but I don't know. This guy he has a lot of good points. But I do think that like it's been long enough. Like, there should be at least a better picture since that last one was taken, that video or whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna put it this way. Like, obviously, there's no definitive proof that he exists yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna just say that like, it's easier to believe that he does exist than to believe that he doesn't exist.
What do you think about this guy's like reasons, like his points? Like, what do you think about what he talks about?
I mean, he sounds like pretty educated. I mean, obviously he's been doing it for a while, whatever. And I feel like the questions are like, also, I feel like the questions they're asking are good questions, and he has a good answer for pretty much everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like everyone, I just don't see why everyone would be so eager to prove that Bigfoot doesn't exist. Like, why would you want to prove that?
Yeah.
Because it's like the normal thing. It's just normal to believe that he doesn't exist. It could be normal. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad we got to listen to that. But yes, I currently now am a believer in Bigfoot. Yes, I do. I am. Even though before I wasn't. Because like,
I just feel like it'd be foolish not to.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people talk about Bigfoot, like, seriously. Like, it's not like you learn about Bigfoot in, like, science class or, like, at school when you're, like, you know, going through, like, high school and shit. Like, you learn about...
It's because there just hasn't been, like, solid evidence, I guess. But there's... I mean...
Yeah, I agree that they're rare and hard to find. Because, like, even shit in the ocean, like, there's so many things in the ocean that hasn't been, like, found, you know?
Like Godzilla.
Yeah, all those movies, they're really just documentaries. They're not They're not.
Dude, those are
fiction.
real.
Dude. Well,
Dude, King Bigfoot lives on Skull Island. His name's King Kong.
okay,
big monkey.
I'm done with you. I'm done. Do you want to wrap up this episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and go listen to other episodes now. Would you like to say anything?
If you're still watching this, why?
Okay. You don't have to fucking, throw shit at us. All right, whatever. We're gone. Goodbye.